You, the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shakti clan, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. When, O supreme amongst humans, you were born on this earth, you paced out 7 strides and said, I am supreme in this world. To you who are wise then, I prostrate, with pure bodies, formed supremely pure, with emotion like a golden mountain, flame that blazeth in the 3 worlds. When of the best, Lord, to you I prostrate. With supreme signs, face like a spotless moon, color like gold, to you I prostrate. Dust free like you, the 3 worlds are not. Incomparably wise one, to you I prostrate. The Savior having great compassion, the Founder having all understanding, the field of merit with qualities like a vast ocean. To you, the one gone to thusness, I prostrate. The purity that frees one from attachment, to that frees one from the lower realms. The one path, the sublime reality, to the Dharma that pacifies, I prostrate. Those who are liberated and also show the path to liberation. The holy field qualified with realizations, who are devoted to the moral precepts. To you, the sublime community intending virtue, I prostrate. Homage to the Supreme Buddha, homage to the Dharma refuge, homage to the great Sangha, to all 3 ever devout homage. To all worthy of respect, bowing with bodies as many as all realms, atoms in all aspects. With supreme faith I pay homage. Do not commit any non-virtuous actions, only perfect virtuous actions. Subdue your mind thoroughly. This is the teaching of the Buddha. A star, a visual aberration, a flame of a lamp, an illusion, a drop of dew or a bubble, a dream, a flash of lightning, a cloud. See condition things as such. Perhaps may sentient beings attain the rank of all seeing, subdue the foul faults, and be delivered from samsara's ocean, perturbed by the waves of aging, sickness, and death. Page 15 for the Heart Sutra. I prostrate to the Arya Triple Gem. Thus did I hear at one time. The Bhagawan was dwelling on massive Vulture's Mountain in Rajgriha, together with a great community of monks and a great community of bodhisattvas. At that time, the Bhagawan was absorbed in a concentration on the categories of phenomena called profound perfection. Also at that time, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Gachavara looked upon the very practice of the profound perfection of wisdom and beheld those 5 aggregates also as empty of inherent nature. Then, through the power of Buddha, the Venerable Shariputra said this to the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya of Gachavara. How should any son of the lineage train, which is to practice the activity of the profound perfection of wisdom? He said that Sattva Mahasattva Arya of Gachavara said this to the Venerable Shariputra. Shariputra, any son of the lineage or daughter of the lineage who wishes to practice the activity of the profound perfection of wisdom should look upon it like this, correctly and repeatedly beholding those 5 aggregates also as empty of inherent nature. Form is empty, emptiness is form. Emptiness is not other than form. Form is also not other than emptiness. In the same way, feeling, discrimination, compositional factors, and consciousness are empty. Shariputra, likewise, all phenomena are emptiness, without characteristic, unproduced, unceased, stainless, not without stain, not deficient, not fulfilled. Shariputra, therefore, in emptiness, there is no form, no feeling, no discrimination, no compositional factors, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no visual form, no sound, no odor, no taste, object of touch, and no phenomena. There is no I element and so on, to and including no mind element, and no mental consciousness element. There is no ignorance and no extinction of ignorance, and so on, up to and including no aging and death, and no extinction of aging and death. Similarly, there is no suffering, origination, cessation, and path. There is no exalted wisdom, no attainment, and also no non-attainment. Shariputra, therefore, because there is no attainment, bodhisattvas rely on and dwell in the perfection of wisdom, the mind without obscuration, without fear. Having completely passed beyond error, they reach the endpoint of nirvana. All the Buddhas who dwell in the three times also manifestly, completely awaken to unsurpassable, perfect, complete enlightenment in reliance on the perfection of wisdom. Therefore, the mantra of the perfection of wisdom, the mantra of great knowledge, the unsurpassed mantra, the mantra equal to the unequaled, the mantra that thoroughly pacifies all suffering should be known as the truth since it is not false. The mantra of the perfection of wisdom is declared. Kayata Gati Gati Paragati Parasamgati Bodhisattva. Sharaputra, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, should train in the profound perfection of wisdom like that. Then the Bhagawan arose from that concentration and commended the Bodhisattva Arya of the Shavara, saying, well said, son of the lineage. It is like that, it is like that. One should practice the profound perfection of wisdom, just as you've indicated. Even the Tadikas rejoice. The Bhagawan having thus spoken, the Venerable Shardavadaputra, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya of Kuchavara, those surrounding in their entirety, along with the world of gods, humans, Atsuras, and Gandharvas, were overjoyed and highly praised as spoken by the Bhagawan. Page 25 for the mandala. Saji Poke Joche Meto Tram Re Rapiche Degam Party Sange Shindu Me Te Oagi Jokun Nam Dakshing La Chopachi Jetsun Lama Dumpa Kinam Joko Gala Kense Chenje Jesha Sampe Do Jezin Mala Sake Choke Chapa Bab Tu So Iram Guru Ratna Mandala Kamne Yataya Jordan Soke Chodama Jancho Badu Dane Kapsuchi Dagi Jinge Peso Namki Drola Penchu Sange Dropasho Sange Jordan Soke Chodama Jancho Badu Dane Kapsuchi Dagi Jinge Peso Namki Drola Penchu Sange Dropasho
Sanje Jana Sanje Jana Majanju Padu Tani Chapsuchi Tage Jejin Jeve Sanje Doma Beji Sanje Doma Mange de Jendo Jongo Mewa Jimeo Jomeo Domeo Bipotomio Ade de Mene Jeme Doji Gobazo Jemana Tamade Chanse Lo Wichado College Yoda Jenoga was on the Jeno Konaka, Zuma Cheres in my child. One day the longer and I get your benediction, but in Jimmy goes on the Jango do the door, so I down so Gulum Kuji, Yara, that living Manzo de Nichunia de so the Chibu, they don't do again, some of them, my Barwa. Rana Tedigi. Pamani to Simji Tamjeta, Negabda Tadogi Digituela, Gadinchimushere, and the dog guarding Tilenso Yakichiding, showing by the Samba, the combat the Chigi, Tibegun, Nikuno, Omia was Capture.
First, we assume the correct intention. Today, one will listen to the Dharma, not just to fulfill one's own purpose, but for the kind sentient beings being like a parent to oneself in this life. They are the source of one's temporal and ultimate happiness. So in terms of repaying that kindness, one will here reflect and meditate on this Dharma.
ya da 이거 검로 드린 거라서 이제 이제 검자 유충아 최대 유충아 근데 백답 교상고 그거야 원인스로 남신이 하고 싶도 하다
Mm.
근데 다 튕기는 데지 좀 그런 수수 기후인 버디 시월에서
Mm. We should rejoice that today we have the opportunity to meditate and listen to this Dharma. That opportunity is a good opportunity. Also, the surrounding conditions, the weather is good. One should recognize those conducive conditions as good.
야, 당저 검데스잖아. 우중 그러. 너 우중 검 기시나신 시시야. 우회 오렌스 당로와. 근데 주된도. 근데 내 진럽 그러. 누가 사거든요. 주 수고나라요. 되게는 수수. 수고직 담대회에서 오래 수고 이내 나자로들이 나두서 파시도야. 아 계제셔도 셈 그게 톡바 남도 마지워도 상마 싫어. 지소 ten 우파 당도 안에도 괜히 그 소리를 봐 텐성 텐지 어딘데 시제 우중 범데스 잡셔서
As we did yesterday, beginning with breath observation, the longer inhalations and exhalations, that when we breathe in, there is a blessing in the form of a new potency that enters the body and pervades it. So if there's any tightness in the body, physical sickness, that's dispelled. More importantly, mentally, any thoughts, worries, or unpacified states of mind on the out breath are dispelled like rubbish going out.
야, 다드네 그 우중 검 장가져야 돼. 다만 저기는 자신이라
Very low.
ukde pyuta buja wala tanga utsu tang pa tang shiwa shi tang zo sim nange jing namdo kaya yakshu de ukjung tanga jayadre nade suzu tanga kazu jatu dharwa tanga sum tanga du tanga ju nyu shu sum ji shib ju ngab ju kazu yada sim ma ying bache kazu jatu du jab sim ying we nega wala an tsamsha yang kwa ne ya jab wadus cheche gom diks jab shu asdira
Now we will begin to count cycles of breath. Here, we're wanting to have a quality so that initially just recognizing that you are breathing in and breathing out. And once you have recognized that, beginning to count the cycles. Here, counting cycles of breath is the best way to stop mental constructs or discursive thought. It's the best method. So begin by counting cycles that you're comfortable with. That could be 3 cycles of in-breath and out-breath, 7, 21, 50. But one is doing this so the mind doesn't waver. For example, if you lose count, if you lose the focal object of count, begin again.
뭐야다 아니 당가자 참샤지 아니 그 수분나가 수분나가 팀제 아니 베리 우 믹좀제 우주天元的去女主他们去对接了，我就甚至那的也的那아니 뭐야 다 제天也看不到我那些呢，的是但是对我大概有뭐야，甚至那的也弄不着了，甚至那的也弄不着。sim de lega che me ucha sim ra de lega che me ucha de de ma ma je sim thamo sa go do yo ro de na shin tan da ne ji u chu ten yu de ne be su wen na la ba u tim ba na ji sim ya cha san chu tim ti ti me she la sim ga na wa tam je chu no je de le ge ji ta ji sim ta da ga na sha ya u ga la sim ze ji ban ne na wa nu tu gu yo re 내가 나도 고미하고 용매인다 용구요 말을 해주지 아니 심기 내자요나 나와 감정 거야 미기 통야 나고 티녀야 르그리 다녀야 두상 매우 차도 여러 와 근데 다 단단해 매워 체네 와 근데 매워 체네 개지주도 심 다다 아니 심 시와디 가나 심네 투나 심 세링 차디 가나 네 투나 다디 매나에 어그란시 당 계신나시 수고성을 주치나 누주 섬제 뒤제 네 어그란시 딜라 팀송 대대가 가는 심내도는 네 어딘데 다 치르도 그 유름데 나와 누도 나와도 누도 여러 심가 나와도 게 누도라
We're now leaving aside, counting the breath and observing the breath as it enters the body and dissipates or dissolves, closing one's eyes. And also one can also similarly, with mind and breath together, really, in reality, if one does it correctly, appearances of mind cease as well. They're condensed. So at the time of death, everything that appears to mind starts to cease in the sense that at first the gross states of mind abate or dissolve. So one can do this with the breath, firstly with the breath pervading the body and then observing the mind in which the appearances cease. So eventually then at death, with that process, one is left with the subtle mind. So one can do a similar meditation if one is able to rest the mind in the present moment, single-pointedly, because if one is able to do so, all appearances come to rest, cease. This is resting in the nature of mind, meaning that if you're single-pointedly focused, everything we normally see, hear, and tactiles, they have ceased. And then one rests in the nature of mind, which is clear lucidity or present clear wakefulness. But that's difficult, isn't it? So if not, we can just imagine that all of the environment and surrounds dissolve into us in the nature of light. Because when we die, similarly, the normal mental appearances we have will cease. Similar to that.
뭐야 나대 샤로
Yeah.
주주 요구쇼도도
So we'll leave that meditation because time is moving on.
아 Kuchigara.
Mare, Chupa Masuma
No.
Kahana is 5 to 10.
10:30.
Yes.
Oh, we have lots of time. I thought. 그치? 야네. 주제 제가 공지하다 저는.
Do we have half an hour more to meditate?
뭐 내려왔다. 따야고 든데 삼다는 야고를 되게. 즉 치기 누주 탐제로 왔다. 또 치기 누주 탐제. 유제 탐제 미다과란 신리에서 주어들어라는 신리에서. 아래 진유 탐제 주어도 신다 등산 동거래 로마상 마사로도 아래
Yeah.
장군의 세워자 마사 로마야제 로마사 주어도도 다디나시 안아서 치기 뉴주 주어도 되나시 류덴데 주어도 요레스로 류덴데 니 주어도데 다 단단데 가서 그래 다 계정 뭐 쉬어져 남rin게 니 단다데 치워미다고하게 삼다야 돼. 아니 단다하게 니딜라 베데와 침보래. 치워응해와 치워응해와 싸웠습니다. 치워응해와를 해서 점블링이 미담제 치워응해와를 했어. 근데 삼다한제로 와서 치워딩해와를 했어. 마시월 대니 미제 민도스와 상마치로도 치워응해와 따데 대 삼무당 거래로 치워응해와 대다 이셔셔마 되면치 시야등 예버래다. 다 니와디 남진 예매를 해야 돼. 다데 예 좀제 상담으로 남진 예매를 네 치월다 밀로게 방에라 시키신 셰어나시 중앙 제일 돼야지 중앙에라 시 그러면도 하고 가듯이 하고 이렇게 면도 와jen스니데 가딩상 잠불링이 내단 따베나 신나서를 레차들 딩두기 체리 결제쇼 도제 잠불링이 조부지야 유진 쉬우지 소고요래 최선에 차를 팔제 잠불링 지기야 유진 차인 거래 다 딜레 교가데 이래 밤서는 밤 신나서 쉬었는데 sö제 답에 수수수수 매웠어야 되는데 다 체리가 개바당 즉 쉬우지 인스가 재미 수수수 매웠어야 유진 먹고 쉬우지 sö제 샤샤로 신나서 그래도
Yeah.
근데 엔딩상 찹시기 거제 좀 선유다되네 아니 거제도 전에 신나서 오던데 얘기도 하지
Yeah.
배 미세라 신나 밀레너바치엘라 신나 민조로 현자 쇼던데 미 두기 두어면도 삼사라던데로 다도 두기 친질남죠 미스나다 된데지 면도 삼사로 싫어 수수지 땀 년다 벤저 던달라 미신 디루라 삼마다니 된데 도와다도 두스나 도더라 심질라 너시 처와지니들 두스 거라
Yeah.
두스 두라고 신신로지요 말하다
Yeah.
배진도 인계를听도 말아 삼다나 근데 다 된데 망고 레베나 니가 저래도 하고 뉴든 천자도 신나서 오다 얼마나 되고 말해 딘두 치리 돈에 다 이제 가만히데 진이나라다 텔라다시 텔라코라다 텔라다시하다 제자다 된데게 삼다나 남진 이메일라데 다 시제 만신 순제 뉴하러 치베진 하자 망고 순웨진 하자 뉴뉴 그저데즈다 간도 삼노 땅고래서로
Or one can contemplate in this manner the nature of all outer phenomena we experience. The fact is the whole compound things are subject to change. Just observing us, our environment now, the leaves fall in autumn, go into the earth and so forth, changing color like that. All outer phenomena are impermanent, disintegrating. My body is similarly going through that disintegration. And what we find in the texts of the Lamrim the graduated stages of the path to awakening. This death and impermanence is very important that we cultivate a relationship with the reality. And as is listed in the text, the three roots that one contemplates in terms of death, the first of which is that death is definite. It's a given, isn't it? All people in our world will die. And one should contemplate this not just as a point to contemplate, but arrive at that definitive conclusion. The second point, that the time of death is uncertain. There are reasons behind that. Yesterday we touched on that. It's not a given when one will die according to age. So sometimes the young ones will die before the elders. There's no certainty around that. And in fact, those conditions around death are quite scary in the context of modern science. Potent, in fact, that the world is changing so fast. So let aside the fact that we can go through the more natural disasters. There is science made by man that can annihilate the world quite quickly in terms of nuclear or atom bombs. So those causes and conditions are there, potentially. And then there are the political leaders that can also cause such death of humans. It's almost like they are manifestations of Maras, or blessed by Maras, isn't it? When they only seek fame, money, reputation, and so forth, it is like a Mara. And these days it's become, unlike previously, that we could be annihilated to dust in like an instant. Anyway, this is highlighting that the conditions for death are more than the conditions for life. The conditions which go to make up death are more than those that sustain our life.
되네. 치외지 최마도 강님에 배웠어요. 너 치워 미다와 보면데 미다와라고 그래. 그러다 다데 김쟁게 거 말한 저 통고도 안 미통도 한저.
Yeah,
저 볼라 몰라 아마 바다도 좀 정사라라.
yeah.
저 제와요 왜저 정사라. 미망보다 미게 통고도 통도 다도 치워 미다와서나 되래 나라. 다데 시르드니 정말 샤는 로고도 알아. 강바 샤는 로고도 그 보고 샤는 로고도 가로 샤는 로고도 도로 샤는 로고도 모더 샤는 로고도 무 샤는 로고도 애폼 샤는 로고도 스틱 쓰고 샤는 로고도 정말 샤는 로고도
So the third point, that at the time of death only Dharma will benefit. The type of meditation we do initially on death and impermanence is gross, meaning that one doesn't really need reasons. One can see it. One knows that one's elders have already passed, like grandparents have gone. And also we can observe those around us going through the death process. Then understanding that at that death time, we must leave behind houses, children, partners, loved ones, clothes, cars, money, all of that place, or even the body must be left.
다데 자워숨지 균즈고다 균즈고도 다 제레 삼담마도는 자워숨데 돔데보다
Yeah,
이거지모도 안데 자워숨을 달 남른나라 타제워숨 세지레 데상무다나 야고 타제워스디로와 치원예워데 가라서나 치원예워데서는 최초거와데 타제레스로와 최초거스다 치원예워인자 최초거스다 최마셔나나 시디 최음시 평금도 왔으로와
yeah.
제정다 최초거스로와 디 타제레다 데라 맞추 지고 이나면은 도고치에 요마레 치원예워데 상단나로
And so with these three roots, there are at the end three definitive conclusions. So it's quite easy to understand just in terms of the three roots that we've just been through, that death is definite, that its time is uncertain, and that only Dharma will be of import at the time of death. But really, these definitive conclusions are very important. And the first one is because death is definite. One should practice Dharma, because if you don't practice Dharma, at death only that will benefit. So one is encouraged to do Dharma because there's no doubt about it, that one will die.
다드네 남징임에데 네최 다다곤 다다니네 최고 타제다. 남징임에서 간다. 최 다시겠다. 당아 단다다 빼셔서 와단다가 니 부고도서 야고야타. 내가 배샤데스로 아래 아니 디네다 최제고스다 아래 주주디 딱 공생으로 시든지 최제고스다 딘데로 이제 삼단데 다 만차데 삼단도 와 최디 다 제일 흘러러 지제 니 야고 최고스로 다디 미오들 미야가라들 가시다 챙겨요 말이다 다 유셔스도 최라도서다 일레다 배샤데 개체그래 세디 개체그래서 말하게 다지 나나 깨다시 못 쳐야 돼 개점 버렸어 배샤 못 쳐야 돼 개점 버렸어 내가 완전 전부 쳐야 돼 개점 버렸어 다 얘다 가르친 최다 다 일레 휴슈스 다도서 까지 다 최고선이데 어드래 다 지금 인쇄 상로 요데 야고로미 다야 지금 인쇄제 두두 장도 왔다 다단이네 단단한 적으로 해서 줘야 들어가 다단한 적으로 해서 타제를 타제네 그래서 남진이 매선다 아니 가두치 함고 매위인다 최 단단 적으로 해서 어디 타제를 해서 그래라
The second definitive conclusion is that one should practice Dharma now, this very instant, because the time of death is uncertain. Some people will put off the practice of Dharma thinking, I'll just make some money, or I'll just bring up the kids. Or I'll do a Dharma teaching during the holiday. Most people are like that. Or I'll do Dharma when I'm relaxed. Well, at least they have the thought to do Dharma. There's something in that. However, they would put money as more important. Name and fame is more important. Power is more important. Dharma, I'll just leave it. So there is this notion of I'll do it later. But because of the uncertainty of the time of death, the time to practice is now, not to put it off.
다드네 somebody 치외지 추면도 강매 편바사리 추 코너치고 다 제어해서 와 치주도 추 미주 평이면은 안에 다 편이디 적으로지 마변이 제요 말하잖아 추 코너치고 해야지 다 제어 숨세 데려다
The third definitive conclusion is that one will do one's best to only practice Dharma quality, because at the time of death, that's the only thing of import. So you make that conclusion.
Yeah, these
are huge pieces of advice from Lama Tsongkhapa for us.
지금 펜도 쳐야 돼. 당당 안 하는데 내가 쳐야 돼. 꾸는지 상담나 다라래 꾸는 꾸는디 아니 집회 레워메와 아니 집 페조라 뇌베 상담메와 펜베 상베 꾸는는데 딜레야 레워메와 펜보 바시 당다 지 진짜 니야 그런 아니 당이 꾸는 제원나 지금 신라 펜도 쳐야지 니 다란 쳐야래로
Yeah.
최 단단히 지에 삼단단 다들 안에 최치예요. 다최 코너스에니 아니 얘디 꾸는데 장무장경지 정말 최 코너 차로 얘디 심지신은 편법바시 도외시도 당하나 진다 파신 토지체계로 매어와 근데 그 대부 편법체에 손남대야 전주선배에게는 계좌 심지 농어도 와쳐서 뒤 가르친 것은 최 코너 다 대화 준비 주 전주신 배추 그냥 내도 인다 다 최랍 첨부로 최 첨부로 최 개화진로 최 코너처 맞에 아니 최 다다니네 저 예, 다 삼로단다 증원에 아니 차로요 레스로
You may ask, what does it mean then to only do Dharma and only to do it now? Well, the purpose of Dharma is to be kind, to have a kind heart and to help others. So if we have that mental attitude in terms of motivation, whatever we work, whatever action we do, that becomes Dharma. Motivation in the sense that one doesn't have an agenda for one's own benefit. Not only that one will refrain from harming others, but solely help them. Like we did at the beginning of this class, we motivated in an altruistic way. And now that is it, to practice now, that's what it means. We did it. And the second one of, only doing Dharma, well, that comes down to the purity of one's intention. Meaning that if your intention is to help others, you're not even expecting them to thank you. In this context, not only do we practice Dharma and do it now, but in the context of Mahayana, then the waves of deeds are great. So really, this notion of practicing Dharma and doing it now, the mental attitude makes it.
제가 다 추세에 대해 가서 지된 추제다 말이나 아니 추리라라
Yeah.
지 돌아다나 거 메르다나 마가와 대보주는 거와 대보변신은 미가와 안 담님부 주는 거와 담면님부 주는 미가와 안 미지기 님발락다 시대는 거와 님발락다 지는 마가와 된대나는 도나 아도 맞아 된대나 도다 아니 동네 용도 봐봐 디나라다 디게나나 거로 잡지 추지된 추제나라 점물은 그런 지긴 추제나나 거로 잡대다 봐 세상다 녀로 lumba가 연대요 아무도 네 녀로들 타고는 지긴 추제나네 타고 요래 근데 라니 상마다 마신세데 상담이나 베데 상담나 거는 와르다 제가 신변질로데 최시하게 최근ing보 참죽습니다 학월도 당원도 단다 치고미다고 장거에 인자 심 신변이 심디 시글라워 시글라워도 되게 왜 검된 저 심디 참죽심진 오래야 제도나
Yeah.
겨치마 밀리토와 마세 태고침배 최유에서 지금 개와데 자자자 다 콘서쇼게 이그레스 타진 송도 김진 리베 룹토고요 레스로
Really, what constitutes Dharma practice is when one is free from the 8 worldly concerns, 8 worldly thoughts, wanting to be praised, not wanting to be blamed, wanting only to be happy, not wanting to experience sadness, wanting to be kasan jeopardy.
nyemba chunna ka tam nyembo
Yeah. Being happy if
nyemba dana magawa chagra
yeah, being happy if one has wealth, but being unhappy if one goes through loss. So these types of worldly concerns, and these worldly concerns are the source of all the world's problems. If we want to be free of problems in the world, we have to be free from these 8. And this means the attitude we have between self and others has to change so that it becomes one of concern for their welfare or bodhicitta. Really, the essence of Dharma is bodhicitta. And if at the time of death, one can meditate on the white light nature of altruism at the level of one's heart, if one can focus on that when going through the death process, then again, being born human is a given, and one will also meet the Mahayana teaching. His Holiness the Dalai Lama has said this definitively, if we can do that.
당주디 건설적 숨브레스다 이지시작하고라 균전 상단에 균전 리베토네 봐.
Now, just to believe it, because His Holiness said it was difficult, we have to recourse to reason.
그나서 기신시원한 시리 겨울련르도 겨울련사들라다 냐와이다 둔둘라다 당 둔두 통구도 하죠 미 통구도 알아. 이 둔둘라 겨울련도 컨데슬링그이나 밀레 겨울련도 컨데슬링그이나 어디신 거로 밀레 겨울련들라 심 개베심지 기심지 뭔데 주니 아니 시골라버들라 신이기 미나레 둔두이나레 둔둘레 기심지야요로 gesimgi gewesimji lola leyundi ani be ji dewi dewa yongo yoro dewi dewa de da hada mi gombande dewa de tundula de ne chane dewa re de yoro te jolen do yore da sim de la ya ne ji kondo da ngaje da chado da nyumo ge shuk chombo cha le dewi na di gawaji yolen go ra na ani tundula jolen do yoro 제가 시골에 있음디 개좀을 쉬우자고 그래. 만한주 레다 쉬우자 싸요. 돈도 겨울에야 장가요 말에. 밀레 겨울에야 장가요 말이다. 그봐. 레당에 메다 돈도니디 미기 통하에 왜인다. 딜랍샤나 로라 차델하도 와. 아니 달레 바자데 그냥 기능 시에야 봐. 차와 밥지 체면나나 추 차와 땅나 시마 심데요 그래서. 다 딜레 겐체고라 겐. 그봐. 그래서 아니 체면나라 아니 직사자 네 추자 르자 니 신도 구시든데 담 선담나 아니 이제 야 체면나라디 체면나다 구시지야 그 선요레 체마지야 그 선요레 투기야 그 선요레 men지야 그 선요체 로 체면나 아디가나 사단 르단 추단도 야고지 자변디 다 사단 르단 추디 니 구시디 그 사원나 태변디 아니 신도 구시지고요 봐 다디 수단 류단 사디에 페테요 가서베 토기야기다 유엔의 예를 태운디 아니 토기예요 거래 독신기예요 거래 디나신 시글러브 셈디 하장 계정 무슨다 아니 간주 단다다 이만에 니마지 군운 꼼자 셈바 상고체 직직딱 중제 즉 간에 상단에 지금 셈베기 셈지에 상단다 시글러브들 아니 다 대치 하고도 공미과에는 산제 공미하도서 아니 시골로들 산제지 일을 샤지 검토 통배이나 산제 요새 내든지 교련도 여러고 다 뒤인데 다 치워장서야 돼 도저야 다 단단한데 치트비야 돼도 도저로 받아서 먼저 치트 그래 아니 지역 튕긴 요래 다 제마제다 수술라고라래 거라
So then the topic of birth and the topic of lower rebirth or upper rebirth, we can look and distinguish between animals and humans. So when it comes to death and birth, how does that take place? How does one attribute an animal or a human body? Well, we will observe animals and humans because animals are the ones that we can see. So in terms of being human, what is beneficial is if the virtuous state of mind is generated at death, because we know that from virtue comes well-being, from non-virtue suffering. So when we compare the well-being, for example, of animals and humans and gods, we would say that humans and gods are experiencing more well-being than animals. So in that context of well-being, it is a mind that's mixed with delusion and afflictions that creates the cause to be an animal. This is why the state of mind at the time of death is so important. are so important, because we can see that if we look at humans and animals, animals are many. And as was mentioned yesterday, karma, we have created karma in our mind streams like rain. It pours down like rain, and we're creating it every moment, the conditions of which, the seeds of which, when they meet, the conditions will ripen. Example, apple seed, apple tree. If the apple seed is planted and meets with the commensurate conditions, water, fertilizer, sunlight, and so forth, then the apple tree will be the result. Good result. But if the seed is poisonous, then the result will be a poisoned tree, or, so this is likened to the mind at the time of death. We want the virtuous mind to rise at the time of death. And if we cultivate day by day meditations on kindness, on concern for others, then at death there will be a result there. It is even said that if one is able to focus on Buddha at the time of death, if Buddha appears to one's mind, one can be born in a place where there is Buddha's teaching. So all of these things are methods to train for our death, to train on how to die. And all the conditions are there, but whether or not we actually train and do it, that's in our hand.
让当做那你们来这，那我们叫三八三五些的空气山了，的呢，这空气的这身边个三不的那空气有呢，那些个老的嘞，这就是夏天的这先给先了很多钱给建了把上单呀，
Yeah.
为了那那这的穷人呢，都说这，那这那咱们的去玩吧，nghe nè nào giờ đi xem gì đó xem gì xem tham gia gì nè nào giờ khơi chua show sẽ thì đây cái lô tô kia thì nè bé tất cả show sai mà tôi thì đây cái nó xong nó đi trắng gì rồi thằng đó trắng anh chỉ cái là nè nào giờ chỉ lên ta mang cha thong rồi rồi ta cái gì nè cái gì xem mà nè kiến thức nó cầm cái gì xong cái gì cái thong 야 가시 gengo 가시 배 내수 되고 제제 니쿠 되는 아니 돈로다로
Yeah.
다 딘데 배또 뉴뉴시다래 봐 마차지 직 르르 내나더지 동제 돈로다 나라서 겐 가래 동게 신경 말아 봐 단단히 다득체네로 로직 니머니면은 강에 동요된데 윤디 당할 동의도 좀 앞에서 들려서 담아 되지 예 동의디 점블링이 나도 동의 용어도 이게 봐 크여주셨어 발로 자친 보스 선바 자친 보스네로 되게 수수께 겨왕함에 랭이 되우도 봐다 대상마세베 수수게 지 파마니 그 심지어 신 탐제지 동의 용어인데 봐 그거 있는 추부셔 따대 봐봐 로 자친 못 차로다 But in this, lo jang je da kana chi chewa jang se de da chi tinde kana sam dang to ina pandane ani jeng yen ba de one le yun de ani sam lo dan ya lo ku gob de yor da ani nge ne ro ngo sam lo jong ge de shin bien ge lo jong de pom ye na ani jeng le yun de da de su ni chi 나자 심내 도르 도이셔야 되는 로더 쳐로 도이셔야 돼. 아디송스다. 달래송스다. 어딘데 용구여다로.
It is good then, under that condition, if day by day we can meditate on kind heart and altruism to make it a habit, so that if one can die with concern for others' welfare or altruism, then even if one is going through sickness at the time of death, that sickness is a condition a condition for you to turn it into the path of your goal of awakening, thinking that, may this sickness be a working basis for me. May all the sicknesses of the beings in the world ripen upon me. So the heart has courage and vast waves of merit are accumulated. And that's training. You know, we can train so that death is like that. As I mentioned yesterday, you know, my teacher passed away being quite lively and being able to like talk and conduct. And then some people die kind of in their sleep, or old people die peacefully, but a lot of people die with sickness. And for our own death, we don't know how it's going to come. We don't know the conditions around it. But it would be unfortunate to go into like, oh dear, I'm suffering mode. You know, that would be unfortunate. It would be better to have the attitude of courage. Okay, so may this suffering, you know, may all beings suffering ripen upon me. So then the non-virtuous conditions that you meet, you know, may they be a path for you. And not only that, may the sufferings of all living beings ripen upon me now, this very instant. So here, one is doing a type of mind training, but death, you know, when the bad conditions come. So here, one has the good opportunity to practice. Not only is the fact that you're turning adversity into the path at death, but you can also think the negative conditions of the things you've done in the past are ripening upon you now. And then you get more courageous. Now, we can do like that. Surely we can.
Oh yeah, that is all.
We'll stop for this class.
Page 31 for the window.
These pictures.
It's painful, further it's not a risk in a life and grow. And that I will should raise enough to means to increase more and more. Whatever slight positive potential I may have created, by paying homage of